88% of you will not subscribe. Please subscribe.
In the small village of Eldoria, the townspeople often gathered to mock the small, rusted robot they nicknamed Timy. Left behind by unknown forces, Timy wandered aimlessly, ignored and ridiculed by everyone. But one foggy morning, as the village was threatened by invaders from the north, Timy halted its aimless wanderings, revealing a hatch on its back that nobody had noticed before. As dawn broke over the village of Eldoria, the gathered crowd watched in a mixture of curiosity and fear as Timy's back panel slowly opened. Inside, a series of intricate compartments were revealed, each holding a meticulously organized group of miniature human soldiers who were no bigger than a child's toy. Captain Alara, the leader of the brigade, was the first to emerge. She stood no taller than a sparrow, yet her presence was formidable. Dressed in a scaled-down military uniform, she surveyed her surroundings with sharp, assessing eyes before addressing her troop. Her voice, though faint, carried a clear and commanding tone as she issued orders. The villagers gasped and whispered among themselves, unable to believe what they were seeing. Some thought it a trick or magic, others feared it might be a threat. However, their apprehensions were soon put to rest as they observed the discipline and precision with which the soldiers operated. Using tiny ropes and grappling hooks, the soldiers descended from Timy and assembled on the ground. Their movements were swift and coordinated, showing years of training and battle readiness. They quickly set up a perimeter around Timy, transforming the area into a miniature military base within minutes. Captain Alara and her brigade wasted no time in demonstrating their value to the skeptical villagers of Eldoria. They began by conducting a series of drills and demonstrations, showcasing their capabilities and advanced technology, which, despite their size, was highly effective. As the villagers watched, the soldiers deployed miniature drones, no bigger than dragonflies, to scout the surrounding areas. These drones sent back detailed aerial images, allowing the brigade to map out potential points of attack and strategize their defense accordingly. Captain Alara, understanding the critical need for the villagers' cooperation, invited the village leaders to a strategic meeting. Using a sand table and the live feed from the drones, she laid out their defense plan, explaining each step with precise detail. The villagers were impressed by the soldiers' thorough knowledge of tactical warfare and began to see the potential in their tiny defenders. The soldiers set to work, making use of natural choke points and the village's topography. They constructed tiny fortifications and traps that were nearly invisible to the unsuspecting eye, turning Eldoria into a fortified stronghold that leveraged its size. They trained some willing villagers in the art of guerrilla warfare, teaching them how to use the environment to their advantage. As the first light of dawn tinted the skies, the rumble of the northern invaders' approach filled the air. The villagers of Eldoria, now united in their trust in the tiny brigade, braced themselves. The invaders, large and menacing, laughed heartily as they approached, confident in their impending victory over what they perceived as a defenseless village. The first wave of invaders stepped into the traps set by the brigade. Hidden pits camouflaged with leaves and branches gave way under the weight of the invaders, causing confusion and chaos within their ranks. As they struggled, the tiny soldiers launched their assault, using the element of surprise to their advantage. From their concealed positions, the soldiers used miniature crossbows, firing arrows tipped with a potent sleeping concoction developed by the village's herbalist. The invaders fell in droves, asleep before they even knew what hit them. Drones buzzed overhead, dropping nets and tangling up the invaders, further disorienting them. Captain Alara coordinated the defense from atop Timy, which had transformed into a mobile command center. With precision, she directed her forces, calling out commands and adjusting tactics in real time as the battle unfolded. Despite their initial mockery, the invaders found themselves unable to cope with the guerrilla tactics and sheer ingenuity of the tiny brigade. Every attempt to regroup and retaliate was thwarted by another unexpected maneuver, showcasing not just the military prowess but the creative strategic thinking of Captain Alara and her team. As the battle reached its climax, the larger forces, humbled and bewildered, began to retreat, dragging their captured comrades from the traps. Eldoria had stood strong, protected not by sheer strength or size, but by the courage and cunning of its smallest defenders. The morning after the battle dawned clear and bright, reflecting the new spirit in Eldoria. The villagers, previously skeptical and dismissive of Timy and the tiny soldiers, now viewed them with admiration and gratitude. The village square, which had been a place of mockery for Timy, was now being set up for a grand celebration. Children gathered around Captain Alara and her soldiers, asking eager questions and marveling at the miniature equipment and weapons. The soldiers, happy to engage with the community, demonstrated some of their non-combative technology and shared stories of their training and previous missions, much to the delight of the villagers. Meanwhile, the village leaders organized a feast in honor of the brigade. Tables were laden with the best the village had to offer: fresh bread, cheeses, fruits, and roasted meats. The villagers crafted tiny portions of each dish for the soldiers, ensuring they too could partake in the feast. During the celebration, the mayor of Eldoria gave a speech. He publicly apologized for the initial distrust and ridicule the soldiers had faced and thanked them for their bravery and protection. He declared Timy and the brigade as Eldoria's official protectors, a title met with cheers and applause from the crowd. As the festivities continued into the evening, the bond between the villagers and their tiny protectors deepened. Lanterns lit the square, music filled the air, and dances were danced. It was a night of joy and unity, symbolizing the transformation of Eldoria from a place of fear and division to one of strength and community. As the festivities wind down and a sense of normalcy begins to return to Eldoria, Captain Alara invites the village leaders to a private meeting. With the trust and rapport established, she feels it is time to share the true origins of her brigade and Timy. In the quiet of the village hall, Alara explains that they are part of a clandestine military experiment designed during a forgotten war to create the ultimate covert operatives. The soldiers were engineered to be tiny for stealth and to take advantage of technological innovations that could be miniaturized to their scale. Timy, she reveals, was specially designed to transport and protect the soldiers, equipped with advanced cloaking technology that allowed it to remain hidden in plain sight as ordinary debris. The project was disbanded and forgotten, and Timy was inadvertently left behind during a rapid demobilization. The leaders listen, fascinated and somewhat bewildered by the tale. Questions about the ethics of such experiments, the potential dangers, and the implications of such technology in their simple lives arise. Alara assures them that their sole purpose now is to protect Eldoria and that they seek no part in larger conflicts unless it threatens their adopted home. Moved by the story and the sacrifices of the tiny soldiers, the villagers agree to keep their origins secret, understanding the potential dangers of such knowledge becoming widespread. They agree to support the brigade, not just out of necessity, but out of a shared bond and mutual respect. As news spreads discreetly through the village, the people of Eldoria start to see Timy and the soldiers not just as protectors, but as integral members of their community. Workshops and educational sessions are organized, where villagers learn about technology and strategy from the brigade, further integrating the soldiers into village life. Day with the secrets of their origins now shared, the tiny brigade, led by Captain Alara, begins to offer formal training sessions to the villagers of Eldoria. The training is designed not only to teach the villagers how to defend themselves, but also to integrate the unique technologies and tactics of the brigade into the village's defense plans. The first training session is held in the open fields just outside the village, where the land offers ample space for exercises. The villagers, ranging from young adults to even the more senior members, gather early in the morning, eager and curious about what they might learn from their miniature heroes. Captain Alara introduces her lieutenants, who specialize in various forms of warfare, including surveillance, sabotage, and guerrilla tactics. The villagers are divided into groups, each led by a different soldier, ensuring personalized attention and a tailored learning experience. The training includes how to use the environment to their advantage, creating natural traps and camouflage, a technique the soldiers had mastered. They also teach the villagers how to use rudimentary versions of their equipment, such as simplified drones and scaled-up versions of their communication devices. Throughout the day, the villagers' initial awkwardness with the strange new tools and tactics turns into admiration and proficiency. They particularly excel in using the environment for defensive purposes, a skill that melds well with their existing knowledge of the land. By the end of the day, a mock drill is conducted, simulating an invasion. The villagers, guided by the tiny soldiers, manage to effectively defend the village using their newly acquired skills. The exercise not only boosts their confidence, but also cements their trust and camaraderie with the brigade. As the sun sets, the villagers and the soldiers gather around a bonfire. Stories and experiences are exchanged, laughter rings through the air, and plans are made for future training sessions. The villagers express their gratitude, not just for the protection the soldiers provide, but for empowering them to protect themselves. The brigade expands word of Eldoria's successful defense, largely attributed to the tiny brigade and their innovative tactics, spreads to neighboring villages and towns. Inspired by the stories of miniature soldiers and high-tech warfare, other communities begin searching for abandoned Timy-like robots, hoping to find their own protectors. Soon, a nearby village, Varwood, discovers a robot hidden in an old mill. When activated, it reveals another brigade of tiny soldiers, led by Lieutenant Mara, who specializes in electronic warfare. Eldoria's villagers, along with Captain Alara and her team, assist Varwood in integrating their new defenders, sharing their knowledge and experience. As more robots are found, each containing its own unique brigade with different specializations, some excel in aerial surveillance, others in underwater operations or cyber defense, the idea of a regional defense network begins to take shape. Captain Alara proposes the formation of the Eldoria Alliance, a cooperative military network that would link all the villages and their respective brigades. The leaders of each village meet in Eldoria, where they draft a charter for the alliance. The charter not only outlines defense strategies and resource sharing, but also emphasizes the importance of preserving peace and promoting technological education among the communities. Training centers are established in each village, where both humans and tiny soldiers can learn from one another. These centers become hubs of innovation, where traditional knowledge meets cutting-edge technology, creating new defense mechanisms and improving the quality of life in the region. A grand ceremony is held to officially launch the Eldoria Alliance. The event is marked by demonstrations of the brigade's capabilities, exhibitions of technology, and cultural exchanges that celebrate the diverse heritage of each community. The Eldoria Alliance begins to flourish. Its success attracts the attention of a larger, more organized threat, a warlord from the north seeking to expand his territory. The warlord, intrigued by the rumors of small but formidable defenders, decides to test the strength of the alliance. The initial skirmishes occur at the borders of the outermost villages. The tiny brigades, now more experienced and better equipped, work in tandem with local villagers to repel these early attacks, using both their traditional and newly learned tactics. However, it quickly becomes evident that the warlord's forces are not only larger, but also better coordinated than any previous threat. The Alliance calls an emergency meeting, deciding to deploy a joint force comprising the best soldiers from each brigade, led by Captain Alara and Lieutenant Mara, to strategize a counteroffensive. The Alliance sets up a command center in Eldoria, where they utilize advanced surveillance drones to monitor enemy movements and deploy their forces more effectively. This integrated approach allows them to anticipate attacks and create strategic advantages, despite their size and resource limitations. In one significant battle, the Joint Brigade showcases the power of unity and innovation. They manage to encircle the warlord's troops using a series of traps and coordinated strikes, effectively using the landscape to their advantage. The warlord's forces, overwhelmed by the ingenuity and agility of the Alliance's tactics, begin to falter. The climax of the battle sees a daring maneuver by the tiny soldiers, who infiltrate the warlord's camp and disable his communication systems, sowing confusion and discord among his troops. Realizing the futility of his campaign and the unexpected resilience of the Alliance, the warlord retreats. In the aftermath of their victory, the villages of the Alliance celebrate not just their survival, but the strength of their unity. This victory serves to solidify their commitment to each other, reinforcing the idea that their diversity in skills and tactics makes them stronger together. Peace settles over the region. Eldoria and its allies take time to reflect on the profound changes that have taken place. From a village once overlooked and vulnerable, Eldoria has transformed into a beacon of innovation and unity, respected and admired far beyond its borders. The chapter opens with the unveiling of a monument in the village square. Timy, depicted not as a mere piece of forgotten technology, but as a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. The monument serves as a reminder of the village's journey and the tiny brigade's pivotal role in that transformation. Captain Ilara, now a celebrated hero, speaks at the ceremony. Her speech touches on the themes of courage, innovation, and the power of unity. She emphasizes that the true strength of Eldoria lies not in its technology, but in its people's willingness to embrace change and support one another. The narrative shifts to show the broader impact of the Eldoria Alliance. Inspired by the success of the tiny soldiers, children in all the villages are educated in technology and strategy, blending the old ways with new knowledge. These programs foster a generation that values both innovation and tradition, ensuring the sustainability of their culture and defenses. In a series of vignettes, we see former skeptics in the villages who have now become advocates for the Alliance, using their skills to further develop the region's capabilities. These stories include a farmer who integrates advanced irrigation techniques learned from the soldiers, and a teacher who incorporates lessons of strategy and cooperation into her classroom. As the anniversary of their victory approaches, the Alliance hosts a festival that draws people from distant lands, curious about the stories of the tiny protectors. The festival features exhibitions of the brigade's tactics and technology, cultural performances that celebrate the diverse heritage of the Alliance, and forums discussing future technological and defensive innovations.